All right, let's get into it, everyone. There is a often misconception, in my opinion, that people think real estate agents are just all killing it, right? And they're making tons of money. And especially over the last, not really 6 months, the last 6 months have sucked, but the couple years prior to that, when the real estate market was going nuts, right? There was if you told anyone that you were in real estate, it was like a good time to be in that business. And it was like, kind of, sort of, that, it's more complicated than that. But what I want to do in this video is just break it down for you, very real world, practical. So how much money are real estate agents actually making on these deals? Okay, so let's do this. Let's take the median home price in the US, which currently sits at $429,000. And what would typically be, most people would anticipate would be the commission rate would be 3%, right? For whether the sellers or the buyer's agents, right? 3% to each of them would be the most widely accepted norm, if you will. So you look at it and you go, 3% of $429,000 is $12,870. Good payday, right? It's a good payday. I think most of us would go, yeah, it's an awesome commission check, right? Like, woohoo. Buy a lot of bottles of booze with that, right? Or save it, or invest, things like that. So let me tell you the things that you don't see, right? Because all you see is what the gross number is, but you don't see all the stuff beyond that. So here's the reality. In almost every case, you are going to have a split. The agent is going to have a split with their brokerage. What I mean by split is, hey, this is the percentage that we as the brokerage take, and then this is, the percentage that you as the agent get. The typical split would be it really varies brokerage to brokerage, but I'm going to say between 20 and 30%. I've been as high as 36%, okay, just to give you a frame of reference. So 20 to 30% is fair, and I'm going to say 25% is going to be about average, right? It's going to vary, but as an average. Next thing, do you have a split with a team? So a lot of agents are on a team, aka they have this agent who's busy and they need more agents to help them maintain the level of business that they do. Well, most agents that are on a team like that, frankly, they're usually walking away with 50% of the commission. So that's going to be, let's just call it 25% of that is going to the brokerage. The other 25% is going to the team owner, right? So that you, as the actual agent who did the deal, are going to walk with about 50%. Now, that is very, very common. Very common, okay? Very, very common, especially that newer agents are on a team. It's just kind of how it goes. Next thing, transaction coordinator. We typically use them on deals. That usually winds up being about $300 that we eat. Gift for a client. Most agents are cheap as shit. I'm not. My average, I don't have any problem telling you guys this, on average, I spend about $400 on gifts to clients. Don't know that I'm going to be able to maintain that long term as I want to scale the business, but historically, for the last few years, that's what it's been. Do you have any marketing expenses? You might go, well, that's not it, to be accounted for in the commission. Well, yeah, it is, because if they didn't market, they wouldn't have gotten that commission, right? So you got to build in things like marketing expenses, gas, right? How long were we driving around town looking at something? I don't know, a couple tanks of gas, a couple $100, right? And then taxes. We haven't even gotten to taxes, right? So taxes is obviously going to be a big chunk of any of your income. Those of you who work and make money for a living know about taxes. And if you don't, you should definitely look into it because it's a very real thing. Then there's some intangibles. So 3% commission rate is best case scenario. During COVID, when it was a very heavy seller's market and sellers know that they could just rape the buyer's agents, it was typical to see more like 2%. I don't work for 2%, so that was really not something I was willing to do, but 2.5 is kind of like a baseline minimum that for me is acceptable. So the other thing, intangibles, right? How long have you actually been working on that lead, right? So we just closed a deal with a buyer, and man, it's been almost 2 years. I mean, it was in the neighborhood of 2 years ago, at least a year and a half ago, that he reached out to us and said, hey, I'm going to be moving to Utah from another state, and I'd like to buy a house. Well, to actually get to the finish line, right, with finances and everything that we had to work through, it's about a year and a half. So if you're like, oh, just in one day you made 12 grand, no, like that was over the course of a year and a half. That's not that every single day I'm working on it, but you guys get the idea. And yeah, and that's that. So let's factor it in. A $12,870 commission, right? Let's just say, first of all, instead of making 3%, you're making 2.5%. Okay, which is really, truthfully, pretty average. So now you're down to from 12,870 to 10,725. Let's say you got a 25% split with your brokerage. Now you're down to 8,043. So you pay your transaction coordinator. Now you're down to 7,743. Client gift. Now you're down to 7,343. A couple $100 for gas, 7,143. And now let's say you've got an average tax rate of about 40%. So now what started as $12,870 is reduced to $4,286. So right at a third of where you started. So why am I doing this? Just so that you have some understanding of it's not all glitz and glam. The gross commission rate may be pretty good, but you're not seeing all the behind the scenes stuff in terms of, okay, well, what did that agent actually walk with once all the bills and everything were paid? In this case, which is very real, like it's a very real example. I'm not inflating numbers here. Like this is real shit. It's about a third. It's about a third of free cash that you walked with at the end of that deal. So I don't know if that does anything to help you guys out, but there you go. This, guys, I just got back from Kentucky. Bourbon tourism is a thing, right? People go over to Kentucky. That's where about 95% of the world's bourbon is made. Bourbon does not have to be made in Kentucky, but about 95% of it is made in Kentucky. Bourbon does have to be made in the United States. It is an American-only spirit. But, so I went over to Kentucky to do the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, hit 7 different distilleries, and one of those was Rabbit Hole, and that day they happened to have their Cave Hill, which is their 4-grain bourbon, right? In a cask strength single barrel variant. And I was really stoked on this. They threw a premium on it because it's single barrel. There's only 270 bottles of it. I got bottle number 189, right? But this is really cool, and some of the best damn branding and labeling that I've ever seen on a bottle. Just a really, really attractive bottle. All the bottles were themed after either, well, this one was themed after Alice in the Wonderland, yeah. Alice in the Rabbit Hole? Alice in the Wonderland. I think it's Wonderland. Who gives a shit? Really good bottle. I was stoked on this pickup. Did set me back a pretty penny, but I expect it to be good, and it's going to stay on my shelf for a while because I can never replace that once it's gone. If you guys ever need real estate help, let us know. We do not drink as we are looking at houses. We will drink after when we are celebrating, but not during the actual showings. We actually run a tight ship around here. So let us know if you ever need help. You can subscribe to the channel, do all that great shit. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.